I'm here today because I tried to convince my mother to see my point of view, and not even to see my point of view, but just to read the books. Okay. So yesterday, I wrote out this thing showing the comparisons of emotional incest and the Bible, and it's all throughout the Bible. Okay. I've brought these things up: Joseph, even Jacob, um, Jezebel, Jeremiah, Job. It's mentioned in Proverbs. It's mentioned in Colossians. Jesus is speaking on it in Matthew 12 and Matthew 23. I've given all these different examples, and she tells me anybody can quote the Bible. Right? Hello. Oh, you're drawing on your profile picture reminds me of something my son likes to draw. But anyway, so I have these qualms, and she tells me that she is not going to read the book because the Bible instructs us not to take up other people's philosophy, and that anybody can quote the Bible. And she said that I have an unclean spirit because I cuss, and because when I speak on the atrocities that I've experienced, I experience great rage. Okay, so I'm now here to beat a dead horse, but also to um, help people understand what it looks like to truly live in anger. That is not what I do. It is very reasonable, especially when it has not been resolved, to when you speak on something and to have anger about it. But I do not live in anger, and that is the difference. Okay, so we're going to talk today about living in anger and what that looks like. And we're also going to talk about if cursing is a sin, if it is of sinful nature. All right, okay, okay. So we'll start with anger. And this will show that just because I speak angrily about people harming me, it does not mean that I am not healed. Because what is important is how several articles, I just chose this one, and they all say the same thing. Okay. 7 ways to know when anger is sinful. Okay, when the reason for being angry is selfishly motivated. Okay, so it is all about I'm mad. Okay. Oh, okay. So if you're into tarot and you hear the readings about karmics, okay, and they're talking about this karmic is mad because everything they did is failing, and they're not going. All their selfish things have failed. That would be an example of being angry for selfish motivations. Okay, so I was trying to steal from you, it did not work, and now I'm doing things to you because I'm mad because what I did didn't work, but it did not have any service for the greater good, right? When being angry is not glorifying God or defending his name. Okay, so I am angry because the things that I keep talking about are things that are specifically against the divine laws. Okay, so for some people, it's just based on whatever your belief system is. But if you're familiar with how I use all of the foundations of the belief systems, are all the same. Okay, do not steal, do not kill, do not harm others, do not gossip. All of these things are the things that I am mad at, and those are things that are against divine law. Okay. When anger goes on for so long that it gives the devil a foothold in your heart. Okay. Or, whatever you believe in is in terms of negative energy, low vibrational energy. So then I go on, if I'm so angry, I go on to do things negatively every single day. Okay. That would be an example of having a foothold in your heart. So it causes you to behave in a negative vibration on a consistent basis. Okay. So again, when I talk to my mother about this specifically, this is the only time that I'm angry. I do not walk out in public and be cussing people out. I don't be intentionally unkind to people or anything because I'm angry. Okay. And most of the time, people make me angry a lot in general, like general public, and there's not, it's not like I'm a pushover, but it's just not necessary to hold on to those small infractions, right? I'm not someone who needs anger management, right? Because I go out in public and, oh my gosh, you just cut me off in traffic. Now I'm going to hit your car. Now I'm going to cuss you out. Now I'm going to honk the horn at you. Those are people who are living with anger, like affecting them negatively often. Okay, so much so that they can't even really drive in traffic. Now, there was a time in my life, I was very young though, I was like 21, 22 years old, where somebody could say something to me in traffic and I cuss them out. What the fuck you mean, right? But it still wasn't enough to say you have an anger problem and you need to. It never put me in jail. It never put me. I've never actually been in a physical fight with anyone other than my siblings. Okay, and we were even younger than that. We're like 15, 16 years old, right? I've never done anything to anyone out of anger. You know what I'm saying? Except, well, and we could take back reactive abuse. I punched my children's fathers, but I'm being abused, and that's a completely separate thing, and not out of, it's not living in anger. Okay, so when anger is so volatile that it begins to bring emotional or physical harm to others, and that I just covered that. Okay, I don't do that. Now, when I was upset, or yesterday, or actually it might have been the day before, my mother has said, "Oh, stop, because you're gonna harm your son. Your son." My son wasn't in the room. My son was nowhere near us. And the entire time I was upset, he never even came upstairs. And she said, "Well, somebody hear you say you don't care, they would think that you're a bad parent." I do not consistently expose my children to this type of behavior. So again, I'm not someone who is doing that, and I'm not living in anger, okay? When anger causes us to hold grudges against people with the intent of making them suffer, okay? And number 6 is when anger makes us unwilling to forgive and consumed with revenge. So, I am angry because there's someone else that's behaving that way to me. But I said, I forgive them. And I understand, what their issue would be. I have not done anything to that person to return the energy, right? So that person, who has been mentioned several times when I'm speaking about being angry, it's like, this person is behaving this way to me. It is causing detriment to my life. I am rightfully angry, and this person is living in anger, right? I'm not the one doing that. I'm not causing anyone to suffer at all. I'm not placing people in harm's way. I'm not keying cars and doing shit like that. I'm not doing that. Okay, so therefore I am still not living in anger. But then when we hold on so tightly to our anger that we begin to feel depressed or irritable, often erupting over small insignificant things. So again, when I'm speaking specifically about these transgressions that have happened to me, I get angry because they're very monumental. They have affected the course of my life repeatedly. And they are all violations of the divine law and of the 10 Commandments, which is her belief system, right? So when I speak on them, I'm very angry. But, I'm not irritable when my son drops a cup of water. I'm not irritable when I literally just had a video where I was sitting and talking about these people left toilet paper with shit on my doorstep, and I just laughed. Okay, so these are insignificant things. I don't get mad at insignificant things. I'm very specifically mad about things that are very monumental, very destructive to my life. Okay, so no, I'm not living in anger. And she said, "Well, you've been doing this all the time." Only about this specific conversation. There are so many other things that are very insignificant and very small that have happened to me, and I don't have anything to say about it. It doesn't matter, right? But when it comes to these very specific things, I'm upset, and I can remain upset when we talk about it because it's never been resolved. I'm only ever told, ashamed, and judged and criticized for my reaction to abuse. It's one thing if I was running around here and I was the aggressor and I was hurting people and then say, oh my gosh, these people, it's their fault that I'm doing this to them, but I'm not doing anything to anyone. The specific things that happened affected my life and was a result of me being affected already, right? So I'm not, it's not a passing of blame. It's I'm being the what is it called? Victim blaming is happening here. That is what's happening here. Oh my gosh, you responded to abuse. You're a terrible person. And it's like, but even how I responded to abuse was no violation of any divine laws or commandments. The people that I'm talking about are explicitly violating divine laws and commandments. And when I respond, I'm not breaking a commandment or divine law, and somehow I'm being judged. That would make anyone angry. And since it doesn't get resolved, whenever I speak about it, I'm still angry. But it doesn't mean that I am negative, living in a negative vibration or anything like that. It's wild. What's your question, dear? So, while they're getting their question gathered, I'm going to move on to cussing. Because she said I have a potty mouth, which ultimately I don't commonly cuss in front of my mom. Right? I don't commonly cuss in front of my elders, but this particular day when I was angry, I did. And usually I am able to bite my tongue, but it's just, it's like, man, I keep having the same conversation with you. It's a circular conversation. She acts like she wants to understand, but then when I give her complete facts, she completely denies it, because that's how most people who have delusions of grandeur of righteousness, who are self-righteous, tend to behave. They avoid all logic and they stick to opinion, right? So she told me that because I am a potty mouth, I have an unclean spirit. And I said, well, that's not technically something that's in the Bible, okay? And she said, yes, it is. It's Ephesians 4:29, okay? And I could give you plenty of verses, okay? One of the verses is also in Proverbs, okay? But I had said something about cursing, and somebody came to respond to my comment, and they had said, foul language grieves the Holy Spirit, and so you want to avoid it to strengthen your divinity. And so here's my response to that. And before I even begin that, what Ephesians 4:29 and other verses within the Bible that speak on how you speak, more specifically, what it's speaking on is denigration, judgment, criticism, gossip. It's not really speaking on foul language, because foul language is open to interpretation. And there's a lot more like those really Christian-y people, those really like religious people, when they speak on people saying cuss words and stuff like that, they are one of those people that will insult you without using a cuss word. It's not any different. They just didn't use a curse word. And so they are very adamant about that aspect, not realizing that they're actually they're actually violating that far more than the person that's cursing, okay? And as far as like, do not curse your neighbor, right? Curse words do not exist. And I actually have a video about that. I think the name of the video is F-bomb. And I said it's literally do not curse your neighbor. Do not speak death upon your neighbor. That's what it really means. And so when it says in Ephesians 4:29, do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs. It's the same thing. Why would you tell your daughter she's a failure? Why would you, and I'm not saying she specifically said that, but why would you ever say anything negative on someone? You need to get your life together. But I'm telling you, all these people just stole from me. Last year, I had $1,600 stolen from me and my car vandalized. Between those two things, that put me back a whole year. I was supposed to be able to put Aaron in free daycare and go to work over the course of this last year, but I had to wait because that happened to me. That doesn't mean I have to get my life together. The people that are doing that need to get their life together, okay? So I didn't do any action there. That wasn't my action. That wasn't what I did. And that has repeatedly happened over the course of my life. So anyways, speaking to someone that way is not any different than cursing someone out. But when so what I'm going to say here is this person that said, oh, it doesn't it affects your divinity and you should stay away from it. Here's what I had to say about that. What supports divinity will always have clear and direct guidelines, okay? If it truly grieved the Holy Spirit, it would have been advised against specifically and not left open for interpretation, okay? Note that the Proverbs, the commandments, the principles of love are all very direct, and this specific topic of cussing is open to interpretation and personal conviction, okay? To protect your child, you wouldn't say, you might get hurt if you touch the oven. No. You definitely and definitively tell them, don't touch the oven or you will get hurt. These words we be using are not harmful in particular contexts and can even be delightful. I don't use it in the context of degradation often, and that is what you would want to refrain from and what makes it foul. Okay? That's when it fits in unwholesome talk. Okay? So anything that does not bring life to someone, right? So if I'm cussing and I'm like, you fucking son of a bitch, you fucking whore, that is when curse words are unwholesome. Okay? So when I'm upset or especially excited, I happen to cuss a lot. I just had someone leave something with poop at my front door, and for 2 minutes could not stop using the word shit. That is not affecting my divinity or anyone else's. When I was younger, I didn't even cuss at children, right? But as I get older, you may hear me say, bring your ass in the house. I love your goofy ass. Or put your shit away and get in the fucking bathtub, bruh. All happily and without malice to my child. I don't even flinch when my eldest cusses. And I really thought I would have frowned upon that. If you knew me, you'd know I have an excessively convicted spirit. If I do wrong, I cannot stand it. I cannot bear it. So when I curse, if I was truly grieving the Holy Spirit, I would be moved to repent. I would be moved to stop. But as I just said, it slightly progresses as I get older. Okay? Now, because I know certain people are offended, I will either intentionally censor myself or apologize to those people should I slip, but only because I do not wish to dishonor them and as to uphold the principle of love. Okay? Yet never once have I had a tug, a twinge of pain, a sick stomach, a feeling of shame, a headache, a whisper to stop, or a negative event directly after using a cuss word. Okay? People who are looking to be viewed as righteous in their own eyes or the eyes of other people are who are grieved by cursing. Only people who wish to serve their ego and image have ever grieved or asked for me to refrain from cussing. Imagine that. Okay. A person who feels strong conviction over cussing has far more to be convicted of. They choose the smallest display of discipline and character, but fail to develop more impactful aspects of character and carry the weight of insidious actions in their soul. Ever seen cartoons where they're carrying a bunch of boxes and they're struggling to carry it, and then a tiny little feather falls on top and all the boxes crash to the ground? For one whose soul is heavy, Foul language is just like that feather. Okay, it's not that the feather weighs a ton, is evil, or affecting divinity. They're simply carrying too much and cannot stand to add anything else to the load. Some are deceived and swayed by these individuals to follow their example and even give advice to avoid it, yet have no biblical or other religious foundation to it. Croco shit, my friend. So my conscience is clear, therefore the cursing is light on my soul and affects my divinity none. Okay? So you heard it. It's very simple. People choose to use the interpretation of unwholesome talk as specifically cursing or using cuss words or foul language because it's a very small and easy thing to control, essentially. Um, essentially, okay? There's research that states that people who censor themselves are more likely to be less honest because they have to spend a lot of time censoring themselves before they speak. Now, you do want to think before you speak. That's not what's here. But you tend to be more unfiltered when you don't have anything to hide, right? So that's where I'm right in between there. I do understand how to censor myself. I don't cuss in front of my grandmother. I don't commonly cuss in front of my aunt. I've cussed in front of all the adults in my family at least once or twice. And that people would call that disrespectful. But when you're in your true form and your true emotions and you're speaking on an emotional level, it's not really something that will always be censored. Someone who's not speaking from that emotional standpoint and just being able to speak, when I'm having a normal conversation with my mother, there's no slips of the tongue. It's when I'm in my most emotional state, right? So if my sisters and my cousins and all of them are speaking to my mother and my grandmother and they're not in that emotional state, they are least likely to slip. They're able to censor themselves. Okay, only when I'm upset do I ever slip. Okay, so to be told I have an unclean spirit, but I've witnessed this person slander me. You know what I'm saying? I've witnessed this person lie. You're no different. It's either we both have a sinful nature, or we both fine, right? And not necessarily I think I'm still righteous. And so then that's all I wanted to say. These are my qualms today. But I think I would like all of you to recognize that as well. There's a link in my community board where a woman was talking about telling the difference between the narcissist and the victim. One of those things is the narcissist will want to continue to stir up strife where the victim wants to bring peace. So let's just get along. Let's just, do this, that, and the other. So when you look at someone who is feeling anger because they've been narcissistically abused, look at how they speak on the people that have done it. Like, I understand this person has issues. Or now I did say earlier this year I'm looking for revenge 2023, but I wasn't speaking for myself. The ancestors have intention of looking for revenge, but me personally, there is no action that I'm doing to cause revenge to these people. Would I love it to see it? Yes, but vengeance is not mine, thus saith the Lord. Or vengeance is mine, thus saith the Lord. You know what I'm saying? It's not yours. That is how you're going to determine if these people are living in sin, if these people are living in anger. A lot of you will try to shame someone for being angry or for having feelings of anger, even if they're really big. Okay, crying, screaming, disbelief, frustration. Those are all very normal feelings when you have been humiliated, betrayed, left financially struggling and shit like that. That's very normal and to try to shame them or say they are sinful because they have these very large feelings would never be right. The only time that it would not be right or not be normal is when it starts to affect that person, or that person starts to try to affect others as a result of their anger. I do cry often, um, but it's not because of that. It's because I've lived off of $1,200 in the last 2 years. You know what I'm saying? And when I look at my options of how to fix the situation, there isn't much because I don't have any type of support system. Like, I was just looking at jobs and what what they wanted my schedule to be, and it's like, how am I going to do that? I don't even know how I'm going to do that because he has to get on the bus at this time and he has to get off the bus at this time, and I'm required to be there, and I have no one to get him. I can't work that job. That would cause me frustration. That would make me a little upset. But it doesn't mean that I'm living depressed, okay? My child is still taken care of. My house is still taken care of. I'm still groomed. My child is still thriving. I'm not actually in depression. Depression is when it takes hold of your life and you can't look forward. You know what I'm saying? You can't stay motivated to continue to do the things that you do. So to hear that constantly, I only deal with her because I have no choice. They keep telling you, okay, leave these people and everything will be all right. And I leave those people, and then I literally have no help whatsoever. Nothing. Who can actually live off of $34 a month? Can you tell me? Do you live off of $34 a month? Like, I'm literally, this is actually emotional rape, where I am forced to rely on my abuser, right? Because I just told you what the situation is. I just told you, right? So, pay attention to the people around you. Big feelings are normal. In these circumstances, big feelings are normal. It is only when you cannot continue to move forward in life, when you are harming others, that you're actually sinful in your anger. I remember hearing, like, people were going to help you, but you were living in anger. No, I wasn't. I was simply just expressing anger. I didn't do anything to anyone because I was angry. There's a very stark difference there. And y'all don't know what that is because you've been living in this narcissistic paradigm with people, with narcissists who constantly push toxic positivity. And so that since they constantly push toxic positivity, big feelings of anger and big feelings of anger look like sin to you. You know what I'm saying? And then you're like, oh, well, I can't help her. She's just living in anger, when that person is just looking to express themselves and have resolve. So that's all I have to say. I've gone on. I feel like I might have gone on a little too far. Y'all have a good day. Make sure you help someone that you see like me. All right? Bye.